Hey, Gloucester Township. Thanks for checking us out here on the GT Observer podcast. I'm Joe Allen. That's Keith Gibbons.
How you doing?
We
And this
are,
is Gracie.
Gracie's here.
We like dogs on our podcast.
We are recapping the June 10th council meeting we had, and you were there.
It was a fiery one, yeah. It was yeah. So there was something that popped up on the agenda that spurred a little bit of interest. That we're like, what is going on with this thing? We've seen this multiple times. Kind of didn't pay attention to it, but then started looking into it. So there was a I guess we can get right into it right here. Right? There was a piece of property that went up for public auction, listed as vacant property. I think it started in like February-ish or so. It was multiple times it was on the agenda, and there was like no bidders. Original asking price was a little bit over $2 million. And then now we had for June or July? Yeah, June 10th meeting was like, yeah, we're approving to sell it for $1.6 million. So out of curiosity, we kind of looked into it a little bit here, right? And if you look into the property, it's kind of the shape of like Oklahoma, kind of, it has this long piece to it. Which, if you go to the actual site and you look, you're like, all right, that's the driveway that our MUA property uses to access the ecological center, I think it's called, for MUA, where they're dropping all the leaves and to create mulch and whatnot. So anyway, we went back there to go see what's actually there. It's public property. It's a driveway. It's a street, it looks like. But it's not actually a street. It's part of this property that we're actually selling. So we started doing a little bit of digging into it. And, the thing that people don't realize is, we put a video out the other day where I went out there showing how there's actually activity going on here.
Well, even though we're through it too.
Yeah, but the amount of time that's put into, finding out who this bidder is, so finding out what they're connected to, all that stuff. That stuff is not like, okay, yeah, it might have been like a 3-minute video clip. There was hours and hours of research that was done by people to figure that out, and then for nobody to care what goes on, it's just infuriating, like to see. Just nobody care.
Yeah, there's a bit more information that comes on. Actually, there's a lot of information that comes up on this property, this whole transaction, everybody that's involved. That was, I don't know, man. There's some connections here that I was like, wow, this. There's some other stuff that I didn't previously think about that could be connected more. So
yeah, and through that research, you find out more, like like you're saying, and that stuff that you don't think about, happening there. But I don't know what I'm trying to say here. It's hard to continue doing this, time and time again about different things. And this one here, it's a clear case of. You can see it with your own eyes. They are lying to you right to your face. They're telling you that's not happening. You're not seeing what you're seeing. And everyone's just, oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
but
vacant land.
Don't care. It's just
like vacant land. Drum up whatever ideas you have about vacant land, but then when you go here, this is a fully functional property with, I don't know, 50 or more vehicles on this property. There's actually people working there right now.
Yeah.
It's definitely not vacant.
It is. It's not vacant. If you go on Google, it's a simple Google. My grandmother, who's not alive right now, could do this. She could go onto Google and type the address into Google, and the first thing that would pop up is Mount Construction. They run an entire business at this location. Well, yeah. They also have other locations, but this is a location.
Yeah,
that's their business, and they're saying, "Oh, this is vacant land." It's not vacant. There's vacant is there's no activity on it. It's just land, right? Or there's no building on it.
Yeah, open field
There's
somewhere.
a building and there's activity going on in this, and we're multiple times putting it up for public auction, calling it vacant land, and they're like, "No, it's not. You're seeing things. There's nothing there. There's no building and there's no."
This would be
oh my God! You go to the tax office, and they will tell you that there's a building right on it. There's an assessment for the building on it.
This would be like selling the Gloucester Township municipal building right now.
Yeah, it's vacant.
Yeah, it's vacant. Yeah, there's a couple cars there, sure.
Yeah.
But you're like,
there's
offices people inside.
Big deal.
They're working. And like, well, technically they'll be out of here when we sell it.
That's literally.
Anything that you're going to sell. Then.
That's literally the wording that they use. They said, "Well, guess what? It'll be vacant when they take ownership." Yeah. What? Are you kidding me? Well, guess what? Maybe I should pay my taxes based on it being a vacant property. There's that house isn't actually there. When someone takes ownership of it, it's going to be vacant. I mean, why would I pay taxes on a improved property here? It's just it's bizarre. It's not bizarre. It's actually not bizarre for Gloucester Township. This is the gaslighting that goes on week after week after week after week after week. It's like we're idiots. Are you people idiots? I'm not an idiot. You're not an idiot. Oh my God, it drives me so insane.
I'm still here, so I might be an idiot. But
I guess same.
Clip one drives in this. Kind of drives in this point here.
Resolution 24:06-195 involves the sale of 351 Landing Road to Fratelli Real Estate Holdings LLC, and I have several concerns about that. One, the property is misrepresented as vacant on the resolutions, and it's not vacant property. Mountain Construction's been using it for many, many years to park their trucks and equipment on. And there's also a building on the property which the tax assessor has appraised for $321,600.
Yeah, there you go. It's I put out a video. If you go back on our YouTube channel here, and I put out a clip today or yesterday. I don't know when it was that you'll see this, showing there's construction trucks everywhere. It's not vacant. It's in use. Again, go on Google, type in 351 Landing Road, see what it pops up.
It's like a fully functioning business. I mean,
100%.
Everything is going on there. Now, the interesting part for me, the vacant part, I was kind of like, man, what are they getting at here? Yeah, sure, it's definitely not vacant, but the next part really got me. Like, the next part.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, well, let's play the clip. And then, because Denise kind of lays this whole out in her thing, and then we can talk about this whole connection.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, $1.6 million is what they're taking as an offer at auction. If you actually look at what that $1.6 million, while, yes, to the general public is not a lot of money, $1.6 million for 10 acres back, where it is, or close to 10 acres, plus the buildings plural that are on there, it's not exactly a lot of money. In the grand scheme of things, for a company to come in there and be able to operate a very multiple millions of dollars building or operation, it's not a lot of money.
Seems like a favor.
But when you call it vacant land and somebody's $1.6 million or $2 million as a minimum bid is what we put it out for, you put that out there and that's land. Like, okay, what land is worth $2 million? Yeah. Can I build a massive, Amazon warehouse? If I'm not mistaken, I don't know this. I'm just off the top of my head, but I feel like the property that the Petrongalos purchased as the former freeway golf course was less than this property. I could be wrong on that, but it's close to the same thing. And they were about to build how many hundreds of thousands square foot warehouse on that would generate how much money? I mean, you know how much commercials, huh?
Was that like 1.2?
Yeah, it wasn't a whole lot, and it was 100 and something acres of land out there. It's not a whole ton in the grand scheme of things. However, but whatever. All right, let's play. Well, you went into clip 2.
10 acres and a business. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's kind of it's like we're doing a favor or something.
You could call it that.
Yeah.
Principal agent, who's the winning bidder and only bidder on the property, Fratelli Real Estate Holdings. The principal agent, shares a name with an individual mentioned in the report that I just handed everybody, which is the New Jersey Commission of Investigation Report on Industrious Subversion, Circumvention of Oversight in Solid Waste and Recycling in New Jersey. And according to that report, the bidder's father pled guilty to corruption and criminal charges linked to organized crime's influence in the waste hauling industry. And his father was permanently barred from operating in New York and came to New Jersey and started operating in New Jersey in the solid waste industry and assumed control of Central Jersey Waste and Recycling. So I don't know if anybody's aware of that or not, but that's rather concerning.
So yeah, that is kind of rather concerning.
Yeah, that's well, here we are again with some more organized crime family involvement.
This would not be the first time.
No, it's not. We've heard lots of names here with organized crime, and it's
It's not surprising to me at all.
Well, it's also tied up too with the trash company.
So yeah, I don't know if you clip because I didn't do these clips here. You did these here. But there was later on in the meeting, it was brought up about the name of the trash company actually changed multiple times. It's not this. It's the same contract. However, it's different companies. And Solterra, if everyone remembers, the trucks used to be called Solterra on the side.
Yes,
of it.
I think when we started off, we were Solterra, right?
Yeah, and that's what you can still see Solterra trucks out there. They're just painted black, and now there's just a small little, kind of looks like a U.S. Highway 1, thing where that. Oh, look at this.
Hi. Oh yeah, Lily's here too.
Yeah, Lily's here. So there's a small IWS or whatever, Interstate Waste Services, whatever it's called. That's on the side of the trucks now.
Currently, yes.
Currently, and that's where it just keeps changing names. And what Denise has brought up here, I don't know if you clip this part here, but the current trash company that's out there, if you look up that name and you try to find out who owns that, it's the same name as who purchased who's the highest bidder and the one that we're approving this 351 Landing Road property to. That same person is also linked to the company IWS that we're talking about here. They're also they're leasing 71 Landing Road, which is also public property. It's the former MUA building. If you go outside, it says Municipal Utility Authority outside MUA, and they're using that property there. So there's a clear connection. You can make it yourself, I guess. There's some sort of connection there.
Yeah, who do they know? That's kind of
who do they know? That's a good question.
I don't know. Like when the trash company took over, it was kind of like, oh, okay, we found another trash company that could do the job, but now I'm questioning that. Like that was a while ago. Now I'm questioning that. Like, all right, did they get the job because they knew somebody else now, and now are they moving in because they know somebody else?
Well, so it's a weird thing there where what I did that video earlier that I released saying that person was named as that. There's a lot of seniors, juniors, and whatnot. So there's a potential of it could be the father, it could be the son. Denise had pointed that out, that it was the father who was banned or barred or whatever you want to call it from New York. However, if you look into the stories of it, and again, this is where like all that time that's spent researching this stuff comes into play, is that son also formed another company that then took ownership of the father's company, but then sold it all back for $1 or something the following day. I forget the exact scenario of how that all happened, but it was just so Joe and I do a podcast. Joe, you're barred from doing podcasts. Well, I'm just here. Keith's actually doing the podcast. Well, it's the same. It's still our podcast. You know what I mean? It's on paper.
Same guys pulling the strings.
Right. It's the same.
Different names.
Yeah. Oh, that's not mine. But the answer from counsel is like, whoever somebody's father that did something, that has nothing to do with whoever made the purchase.
Oh, okay.
That's the game that we're gonna play here. So I mean, you guys have all watched movies. You know how the world works. It's all on paper.
A lot of names in this township that were previously associated.
Yeah, I mean, we could go through a list of names that you could put into Google and go do your own research on. I'm not going to get into them. What?
Yeah, 'cause I don't want my car to explode.
No,
So-
yeah. Listen, I want to live. It's already bad enough I've named the Gambino crime family in a video that's out there. Denise has gone up there and put her life at risk, doing this. Do I need to put my life at risk to inform Gloucester Township?
That lives in front of her house, so she's
Yeah.
got like armed guards in her bushes and stuff. So,
all right, so we're on where we're at clip 3, which this whole
on
same
top
property.
of this whole thing, eagles' nests.
Well, do you think eagles matter to the Gambino crime family? Probably
No,
not. They could
'cause
probably
they're-
get that
no,
wiped away.
They're
I'm
from,
sure.
they're from New York, but
Yeah.
but down in Philly, look, it's a symbol of our football team, right? So we can't.
Oh, Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
And then the property itself, 351 Landing Road, is public property, and it's environmentally sensitive property. It's right on the Timber Creek, and I believe that there's an active eagle's nest within quarter mile, half a mile of the property. So I think it's very important to make sure whoever gets a hold of this land is going to be a responsible steward of the property.
What do you think? Should they be a responsible steward of the property, being right on Timber Creek and having an active bald eagle's nest? I know our councilman, Jim Nash, decided he was going to inform everybody of his. Did you clip that where he's a bird watcher? You did?
I
Okay.
did. Yeah, he's a bird watcher.
All right, I'll save that for later then.
Yeah. So council responds. So basically, what they did was they cut off. They cut off Denise, and she was going through kind of a whole thing, and they were like, "You're out of time."
Oh yeah,
So
that's easy.
um,
Easy way out.
Mr. Carson, anything you want to respond regarding vacant property? Mount was the former tenant of that particular property, correct?
Mount,
Yes.
Mount was,
Okay.
and there were 2 appraisals done on the property. Those appraisals contained not only the ground, but also the structures on the ground.
All right. In regards to whose father is, I was not aware of that. Thank you very much for providing that information. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
so they don't know. They have no idea. They did no research on this at all.
This is
And-
not unfamiliar. Is there how do you put my disclaimer up where what I'm about to say are my own?
Oh,
Oh, it still does that. That's not good. Can we go back to it? There we go. These are all my own words. This is my own opinion, not that of any position I may hold or any board I may be on. It's not uncommon for members of boards, no matter what it is, to not actually look into what's on an agenda. There was a doctor who is still the doctor of our schools who used an address of a post office box in Washington Township as his practice. However, his practice is 3 hours away when our doctor that we currently used was right down the street. And if your children in school did not have a medical home, as per the statute in New Jersey, they could go to their office 5 minutes down the road we now had to go 3 hours away or whatever it was, 2.5 hours away because he used his address. And when the public called at that time, the school board, I was not a member of that school board, but when they called the school board out about that, they were just like, we don't know anything about that. Like, the address on his application that he said his practice is at is a P.O. box. How are people supposed to go to the doctor here? So that's why I vote every single time against this doctor to be the selected doctor of the town. However, that doesn't mean that he does not provide great services for the town. It's the principle to me that you lied on your application in order to get it. And then also that you're connected to this person, that person. There's a lot of nepotism, and I hate nepotism.
Man, just be transparent.
Well, there's no transparency around here.
Look, if you tell the truth and people reject it, then maybe you're not the right person. That's the thing. Like, if you're telling the truth and people don't like it, okay, then you're doing the wrong thing. Do something else. If you have to lie to get people to like it, then, man, I don't know.
Yeah. All right. What are we moving on to here?
Dina says Denny sits down because they basically.
Oh yeah, they told her time's
in the middle of her thing, like the whole explanation. They're just like, by the way, your time's up. She sits down, and then Dina's kind of like, hey, it's vacant land, but it's not vacant.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Hendry.
Remember, roll the foam to get it compressed. Lift your ear up from the top to straighten out your ear canal. Insert the earplug. And hold it in place to give it time to expand.
Good evening, Dina Hendry, Summerdale. When land goes up for sale, what is the process to ensure that it is recorded correctly? Because if construction cars are used, then therefore it's not vacant. To me, vacant means like not used, like abandoned. So obviously it's not vacant.
Mr. Parliament, so it is vacant land.
Liar.
The prior tenant there was Mount Construction,
Yes.
parked their trucks there. They vacated the property. So
No,
the
they
property is
haven't.
up for sale as vacant land. Whoever buys it's the use that they put to it, but it's vacant. There's no occupancy on that property.
He is such a liar.
Complete full operation happening right now.
Go on our other. Pause this and go on our YouTube channel and look at the other videos. I have video of going around their property. It is not vacant whatsoever. They have not vacated, as he stated, and it's not vacant.
They're doing full business there right now.
Google the word
Drive
vacant
by.
and vacant land. Find out what it means. There's two criteria.
I did that too. I was Googling because I was like, all right, maybe there's some confusion. Maybe that fits into. It doesn't fit.
Nope.
It doesn't
not
fit. It's definitely not vacant.
They 100% lied to you.
So yes. So yeah.
After that, it's also the foraging grounds, I think it's called, for the bald eagles, that have now been reported to the DEP, which they weren't too happy about. They also mentioned that during that clip.
It's a thing, man. If bald eagles move in, you're kind of like you're kind of stuck.
All right, so because of all the things that came to light, it was kind of asked of council, whoa, holy crap, us as the public, who this is our land and our property, we're asking you as our representatives, let's put the brakes on. Let's pause this. Let's not vote yes on this. We don't have to. There's no emergency. What? Let's put the brakes on, right?
What's the rush? Are we that in need of $1.6 million right now that we have to rush this thing through?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. What is the hurry?
Yeah. So.
All right. Let's see. Clip 6 here. Is
Yep.
that where we're at?
It wouldn't be a bad idea, maybe, to table this, do a little more research. Our solicitor seems to have some knowledge and good knowledge to this. He seems to be advising on that, but maybe the rest of council, maybe one or two of you could make a motion to table this, research it a little more. If not for the Eagles, for the definition of vacant and the intentions of where this is going. It's not a bad idea to table something, to do a little more research. It is your due diligence and hard work that gives you the best, wisest, and most educated vote that you can do. The question I would ask is time of the essence? It doesn't seem so.
It doesn't seem so. And part of the rationale, I guess you will, of selling this property, I understand. They wanted to get back on the tax rolls. When the public owns a piece of land, there's no taxes collected because we own it, right? Their claim is that they want to get it back on the tax rolls. That's great. However, you also claim that there's a lease, in place for a company that's paying us.
Yeah, in place
You
of
know,
the taxes.
Right. So
they're paying.
basically, we already have the income from it. If someone else owned it, we would only get X amount of dollars
For taxes.
because it's taxes. So why can't we still continue to retain that ownership of that land and just charge the correct amount for rent to make up the difference in that? Explain to me the difference between that. How I would not, if I was a personal person owning a piece of land, someone else could pay me the same amount in it that I could, you know what I mean? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we should be better off right now with essentially renting this land right now
Right.
than we would be selling this land to somebody else just to get tax money from it. So tax money,
That's
don't know.
that's a BS excuse as to why you need to sell it.
yeah, because
In my
you get
opinion.
10 acres and a business with several buildings on it is probably a lot more money in rent than what we would get from just the tax on it. I mean, what's the tax on 10 acres with a business?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a substantial amount,
Like
but guess
30,
what?
30 grand a year?
If you're
maybe?
able to have access to that building or to that land and the buildings or whatever else that are on that property as a business, it's a wash. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. You know what I mean? What you're paying
Yeah.
rent on it, or you own it. Do you really? It's expense wise on your P&L. It's the same difference to us as the town. It's the same amount of revenue coming in, whether it was from a lease or from tax revenue. So don't give me the BS that we need to sell this to get it back on the tax rolls. That's horse crap. My opinion.
Well, I mean, would it be a whole lot different, though, if they said, look, Mountain Construction is leaving soon, July, August.
Well, we don't know that.
And-
They
and
don't
we'd
give
like-
us those answers.
and
I
we'd
have
like
sent
to
in an
sell it.
Oprah request to find out those answers, to find out was the lease up and Mount said they're going away. If they did, then why are they still there, first of all? Why does their website still say that? Why haven't they found somewhere else to put all these trucks that we went
Yeah.
through and showed? There's truck after truck after truck after dumpster after dumpster after dumpster after street sign after street.
There's a lot of stuff back there.
They claim that they are they're in the process of vacating the land. There's not a square inch of that property that's not in use currently. I mean, as of today, go down there today and go look and see. It's public property. Go take a look. There's not a square inch of it that can't be used. So they're not vacating. I can see if there was like 3 dumpsters over here, a truck that's broken down that needs a new transmission, and this, that. They're not vacating anything. They're currently still on that property.
Yeah, they were, when you're in your video, there were employee cars.
There's employee cars, yeah.
Clark.
They showed up to work there.
So they're working. There's like people working that day. And I it was like a technicality when I thought this was just a technicality when they're like, all right, they said vacant, but it's not technically vacant. It will be vacated, but it's definitely none of those. Like, it is a current business operating right now. It's like if you go to ShopRite in Hughes Landing,
exactly. And you're like,
and you're like, hey, the ShopRite's for sale right now. It's vacant. You're going, wait, I shopped there earlier today. It's not.
Exactly. It's not vacant.
I was there. It's not vacant.
I made a purchase.
But they're like, well, technically somebody wants
when
to
the new
leave
owner
there.
comes, it'll be vacant.
Yeah. When ShopRite moves out.
There won't be a building there, and it'll be vacant.
Yeah, well, between the time that ShopRite moves out and Acme moves in, it'll be vacant. so we could say it's vacant. No, that's not how it works. But that's how they're portraying it, and that's
because it's in their best interest for whatever it is that they have up their sleeve for later on. And you always find out later on. You never find out now. It's speculation, and then we look like conspiracy theorist idiots, and then we actually get proven right, but that doesn't get talked about. Troxel asked Carlemere. What?
yeah.
Hey, can you explain this kind of process one more time to us here? But she avoids talking about our responsibility, right?
Yeah, he goes through the whole process of like, well, if somebody's going to buy a property and it might have eagles on it, what it means for them. But he doesn't mention anything about like the township or council's responsibility to kind of just be like, hey, look.
Disclose this information.
Let's talk about the person that's buying it. Let's talk about the eagles that we have on it. He's just talking about the hardship that a potential buyer would come across.
Yeah. All right, let's play clip 7 here.
Can I ask a question? Could you please reiterate what you just said previously about the process? Because
So basically, the bid process, one of the aspects of the bid process is once a successful bidder, as we have here, gets a bid that's approved and accepted, the advertising notice says the governing body has an obligation to approve that or reject that bidder for some reason. If it's not satisfied with the process or the bid price. So all you're doing here is authorizing the acceptance of the $1.6 million for the vacant land. Now, the bid process and successful bidder contract gives the successful bidder a due diligence period to go in and inspect. For any reason that they determine, whether it's environmental or whatever, they can make a determination that it's a negative to their purchase. So all you're doing is authorizing and approving the $1.6 million bid and authorizing the contract, and it gives the buyer his due diligence period. If this is an issue, it's going to come up with the buyer and probably be given notice since it's been presented to council that this is a question, and they'll do their due diligence and make their inspections.
Man.
All right, for one, I don't give a crap about the buyer. I don't give a crap about any of the due diligence they have to do. What I care about is the due diligence that council put in or anybody in the township administration put in that said, these are the people that are going to buy, these are the people that are coming into our township, and here's the land that's protected because of the situation we have right now with the eagles. That's what I care about. I don't care about the buyer and their due diligence and what potential money they could lose and what they would have to go through. I don't care about any of that. I care about the job that the people that we elected aren't doing. That's what I care about.
Yeah.
That's what I care about. And he's not talking about any of that. He's talking about what potential hardship the buyers would have.
Anytime that man talks, he's either lying or he's encouraging them to vote yes to whatever is on the agenda there. Yeah, that's the only things that come out of his mouth.
Nothing that we're doing here
There's no
today
warning
really
of
matters.
anything.
This is all, this is all look, the buyer is going to have to do all this stuff. No, right now is when you stop it. This is always the case, though. This is always the case because whenever we have a big issue, it's like, look, we're just a MUA sale.
All we're doing is preserving it. We're just
going to move it over to a sewer utility.
Yeah.
And then
that's
it's like
all it does.
And then next thing you know,
you're right, that's all it does
we're
at that moment.
Just putting it out for bid. The next thing you know, you're paying $65 a month for something else because they're like, well, look, you guys voted for it.
You voted for this.
Look, you're doing all these steps ahead of time that are doing something that aren't conducive to our township, but you're like, well, if the bad guys decide that they don't want it, then okay, that's fine.
It's really frustrating to know, like, okay, there are certain in government, right? There's certain a process in place, like, okay, you have to do this before you can do this. You have to do this before you do this, and each one of these things, it's all you're doing is approving it to step here, and it's like. Okay, there's a cliff here that I'm if I take 2 more steps, I'm tumbling to my death, right? And you're like, all you're doing by moving your right foot a foot forward, all you're doing is taking a step.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, because I take that step, also the part of that process is my left foot needs to follow my right foot. And that step then leads me off the cliff and I fall to my death. Well, I don't know that that's true. All I know is this vote only moves your right foot, 12 inches forward.
And you go, hey.
And you're like, oh my God, are you? It's so. Oh my God, it's so infuriating to me.
It's which is lawyers. It's lawyer speak.
It's
all
lawyer
the
speak.
time.
I hate lawyers.
It's all the time, and that's why nobody goes to council meetings and asks any questions because these BS answers.
Gaslighting.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
after that, then one of our council members decides to tell us because Dina had mentioned. I don't know if you had taken your ear clips out. Joe had put the earbud things in there, so you might take them out. Actually, remove them now so you can hear.
When I do these clips,
you have to have fun with it, right?
I have to bump up the sound because these folks don't know how to use microphones.
True.
And someone who is very, very good at speaking into a microphone, Dina,
you have to turn it down.
Comes up to the microphone, and it blows me off my desk every time. So I was just kind of like, look, I have earphones in, and I have damage now.
Right.
Just doing this podcast.
But anyway, so one of our council... So let me go back. Dina Hendry had mentioned that bald eagles are an endangered species.
Yeah.
And protected. One of our council members decided to tell us about the endangered portion, which is true. They are not endangered species anymore. However, they are 100% protected.
Yeah.
So here's his. I think this is his clip.
So I'm no ornithologist. I am into bird photography, which I'm admitting this publicly. Bald eagles are not endangered as of 2007, just so you know.
So yeah, but he forgot to mention that they are protected, and with protected, there also comes some stipulations with that. Do you want to go over those?
Yeah, the person kind of coughed over the weekly cougher.
Yeah.
Who bald eagles are no longer endangered as of 2007.
They have a
Bald and
foraging
golden
area,
eagle,
right? And there's a whole buffer zone with it.
Yeah, so the bald and golden eagle protection act still protects eagle's nest from being destroyed from 2007. If you build in a buffer zone of a bald eagle's nest and if the nest fails, like, so you can build in whatever range that they have of this protection zone.
Right.
If you choose to. If the nest fails after you build, if the eagle's like, yeah, I don't like what you're doing here, I'm out of here, you could spend a year in jail with $100,000 fine.
Right.
It's still very much protected. They're not endangered anymore, but it's still very much protected. So
right.
It's kind of like it's irrelevant that they're not endangered, although maybe somebody said endangered.
It's touching on one point of a multiple point conversation. It's like, well, you're wrong because this.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't the only point that I brought up. But thank you for addressing
Nash
that.
took the Carlemere part of things where he was like,
yeah,
they're not endangered.
You're right.
So, yes, they are not endangered, but they are protected. So
you know what's funny is that I put that video out about the bald eagles, and I had the the video of them where they live and the nests and all that stuff. The following day after I had put that out there, there was an article that came out that said New Jersey was looking to unprotect, I guess, their areas or remove that restriction. And the person that reached out to me, they've had a pretty long history of advocating for bald eagles and was very open in showing me where this was and wanting to get this information out there. It kind of went a little south after our initial thing. But either way, their ultimate goal, I 100% appreciate. They're trying to protect this amazing, asset that we have to our area here. But the protection of it, he claimed, or they claimed, I should say, at the time, that they felt that there was a collusion between our local government, who has deep ties to higher up political, things, saying they got it removed from our list to say that nest is not active. And part of the purpose of us going to capture this current footage and to prove that there are chicklets or whatever they're called, or babies or whatever, I forget what they're called. The actual word for the babies.
Like eaglets?
I don't know. There's some kind of...
I'm not sure.
But part of that whole proving that was part of putting it back on record to say they are here. So that then means all of this area around us is protected. So literally the day after that video comes out, there's something that says, you know what? Eagles are no longer protected. I believe 100% in my heart that it is 100% coincidence that happened. However, I would imagine that this person is going to claim that was done because we exposed this nest as being active and having babies in it.
Oh,
Could
wow.
be. I don't know. I don't
wow.
know. I'm just saying. I think it's coincidence. Someone might claim that, though. Just saying. Anyway, let's move on to clip 9 here. So after they were begged to kind of table this whole thing with the sale of this land, who was claimed to be vacant, which we proved is not, which was told to be part of this area of an active eagle's nest, it was passed, but then they decided they were going to table something else here, right? Clip 9?
Yeah, this is odd.
I'd like to make a motion to remove this ordinance from tonight.
So we're gonna table that, your motion's to table?
Yep. Motion to table.
You need additional information on that?
Additional housekeeping, yep, needs to be done.
Ma'am, is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mignon?
Yes.
Mrs. Albright Troxel?
Yes.
Mrs. Grace Love?
Yes.
Mr. Nash?
Yes.
Mrs. Walters?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters? Mr. Mercado?
Yes, to table.
So this was something that was on here that we talked about last podcast about the short-term rentals,
Yeah.
where they were going to pass an ordinance that you were not allowed to do short-term rentals like Airbnbs for like a week or like a day.
Yeah, I think it was like a 30-day, right, minimum?
Yeah, you couldn't do anything shorter than 30 days. And it was back up on there, and I guess Councilman Mignon thought that he needed some more time to look into something. And what bothered me about this was that he just, that it was kind of like they were like, hey, you have this thing, right? And he's like, yeah, I had this thing. I wanted to postpone it. And then everybody's like, yeah, okay. And there was no discussion. What I was really looking for was a discussion to where, maybe Mignon says, I don't like it for this reason. I want to look into this other, I don't know. I wanted some discussion other than like, hey, we pre-talked about this in some secret meeting to where now we're going to table this thing, because there shouldn't really be any kind of like secret meetings.
No, that's true.
So that's, if nothing else, just I wanted the discussion in public so that we knew like, hey, why are you tabling this? Because yeah, there's really good points to both sides of this argument about short-term rentals.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear you guys talk about them.
Joe, we have what are supposed to be workshop meetings. And the workshop meetings are to go over things like this, where you hear from the public. I'm an owner of a property, and here's my thoughts around it. I 100% do not want my neighbor to rent their property out as a short-term rental. I live wherever it is, on a lake, and people might bring their kayaks here. Whatever the case is. Or I am an owner and I could benefit from doing this. But that's what a workshop meeting is. Workshop meetings are to come and bring your things in front of the council, discuss them freely, dialogue back and forth. And we do not have those. They're canceled constantly. I think there was actually one for this meeting. It was canceled, wasn't there? It was canceled. So those public discussions that you're having don't happen in Gloucester Township. And I can understand though, if say that workshop meeting did happen, and then you're bringing up the point of the discussion between council members. There are many a times that something shows up on an agenda, and I know this, and again, I'm speaking, this is my own opinion, not that of any position I may hold. Things that come up that you're like, what is this? And you send an email out, and maybe you're also on the board or the council or whatever it is, and you send an email out, and someone else does as well. And you might have texted one other person, but I might not be the person that brought it up. You might be the person that brought it up. I'm not going to have that dialogue in public, but I also know I also don't agree with what this is. But somebody else is tabling it. I'm okay with that. Let's have further discussion around it. That doesn't negate the part that you're talking about, to have that discussion in public, because we cancel those workshop meetings. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are things that can be tabled, but there are also things that can be discussed. And when we don't have workshop meetings scheduled whatsoever, that's the non-transparency part of government that is unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, are we having behind-the-scenes workshop meetings where we're canceling them publicly, but we're having these talks behind the scenes?
We're making decisions. Screw you, the public. We're going to make the decision, and we don't want to hear from you.
Yeah, so when he says he wants to table it, one person, President Mercado, asks, so you need some more house cleaning, you need to do some house cleaning on this? And he's like, yeah. And then nobody else questions it. They all go, okay, yes.
Right. Well, my point is that yes also means they have questions about it as well. What my problem with that is, they're not taking the input of the public publicly to get what they may have a concern, but you should also be able to hear from your constituents, your residents, and everything else what are their concerns? Have you heard from everybody? I know that my phone only rings and I only talk to certain people who call it. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that someone who doesn't have my contact information or my phone number or whatever else doesn't have a 110% valid point that I shouldn't hear to make that decision, because what they have to say could 100% change my opinion of everything in general, and say, you know what, you're 100% right in that. So there's that outside input is what we are craving as a public of you and I.
Or at least discussion. Let's pretend that everybody sitting up there isn't all on the same team, as they shouldn't be.
Right.
Like, they shouldn't be all on the same team. Mm-hmm. They should be 7 different elected representatives.
Right.
It doesn't work that way in Gloucester Township, but let's say that we had, I don't know, it's like a 50-50 split of Democrats, Republicans. Let's just say that we had that. If that would come up, you would hope that maybe somebody else from the different team, or for screw teams altogether. Let's say that there are 7 individuals up there who think for themselves, right?
Right.
If somebody says, I want to table this, then the other 6 people should immediately think, why? What are your thoughts on tabling this?
Yeah.
And if there's no workshop meeting to say that we need to table this, then they should say, why are we tabling this? We didn't have a workshop meeting because there was nothing else to discuss. Like, why are we tabling this now?
Yeah.
But it's automatically like a known thing. We're tabling this now. But why? But everybody seems to already know.
Yeah. I won't disagree with you on that.
So when people run against these people and they say, we promote transparency, and people go, oh, what does transparency mean? It's that kind of thing that people mean. Like, that's
dialogue in public. It's not uncommon. I mean, you go to other towns, there is dialogue. We do not have dialogue around anything. This is forced down your throat.
Yes.
You like it, you take it, and you believe what I tell you. I don't care that you just saw 150 trucks parked on that property over there. That property is vacant. You idiot. That's vacant. Yeah. When the person takes ownership, it's going to be vacant. That's not how it should. It should be dialogue. That's what transparency. That's what we're talking about.
I wouldn't mind just going and sitting and listening to people talk to each other about like their decisions on what they're going to do. But no, they're just like we've said for years now, they're just robots up there, all doing the same thing.
Rubber stamp approved.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you don't want to be a robot, have a dialogue. Come on the podcast.
Yeah, true.
Every single one of those people are invited on the podcast. None of them will come.
No. All right, so we move on to our next clip here. Denise Coyne asks about money that's needed for sewer repair here, and if we were going to be borrowing it or using from the surplus. Now, this is the second time, I believe, that she asked this question, and the first time was answered as, we don't know, by Beetlejuice.
Yeah, it was kind of like well, it's a formality. We gotta put it out for bid, and we're gonna potentially. We may not use the money from the loan. We might just take it out, but who knows?
Last meeting, the first reading of this ordinance, I asked if the township was going to borrow money to complete this, and Mr. Carter said it would be up to council, as council decided as to whether or not you're going to borrow money for this $300,000.
We have not had that discussion. No.
When will that discussion occur?
Ms. Cars?
You can make that decision anywhere up until the point in time that you adopt the 2025 budget.
Which is when?
Next spring.
Probably April, May, maybe even June of next year.
So if the council decides to borrow this money, does it come back in front of the public at a council meeting again?
I believe it would, yeah.
You believe so, or it would?
I believe it would.
Okay.
No, it's not. We borrow money all the time. It never individually just comes back in front of council meetings. We're never going to hear about this thing again. We're going to borrow $300,000 for some sewer stuff that we need to rework on.
No, we already have the money for.
In 2025, we're never going to remember what happened here. They're gonna throw this into a loan. We're never going to hear about it again. And look, there's another $300,000 onto the what is it, like $60 million dollars in debt. We're gonna add another $300,000 for sewer repairs. Completely forgetting about the $6 million that we had in surplus to pay for sewer repairs that we took so that we could make ourselves look better. That we didn't raise taxes. Well, actually, we did raise taxes, but
yeah.
So that's never good. That money, they're pushing that off because look, GT has a really short memory. We can raise taxes one year, and then the next year everybody's pissed when we raise taxes.
Oh yeah.
And then the next year when we do an election, everybody's like,
"Oh, I kept taxes flat out," and they're out there, patting themselves on the back. Good job.
The grass is really green over there at the park. I like parks here. I really like parks. I'm gonna put these guys back in.
We have no bikes in the bike kiosk.
Yeah, they got stolen. Yeah, they're probably.
Oh yeah, grass is so green.
So next year they're all gonna forget about that stuff, and we'll just borrow that money. But that's the GT way. The GT way is push it off until the people forget about it, and then we'll do it later
hit
on.
them when they're not
we'll
thinking
do it later on
a non-election year.
Exactly.
And the part about that whole the one part I got out of that whole clip was Denise asked him to clarify because he said the way that they always answer questions is, I believe it will have to come back up. She clarifies. She goes, "Do you believe or it will have to?" And he says, I believe it will have to." He refuses to answer the question because he's just such that slimy of a. All right.
He's been in the same room with Carl too long.
He what?
He's been in the same room with Carl too long.
Yeah, that's true.
He knows lawyer speak now.
He knows lawyer speak. All right, so
Egov came up next.
Yep, Egov is the part where you submit your questions to council through a email system, and they are responding to them. So David Leader asks, "Are council meeting minutes online?" Yes, they are. They are if you go to the municipal clerk.
If you, you can go to the GT. You can go to the GT website, or if you go to, that's not our site.
That's not it.
That's not it. If you go to
Camera 8, I think.
some other place.
Oh, wow, what a disaster. Who's our producer over here? Either way, you go onto our GT Observer website. We have them on there. If you go onto glowtwp, glotwp.com, their site also has the minutes. So David Leader was responded to that with, yes, go check them out. He also asked another question of drive like your kids live here signs. What do we have those in town? And it was kind of answered back that there's no studies showing that they work or that it distracts drivers or something along those lines, right? We have a clip about that one here?
Our next one's from David Leader at 1105 Huntington Avenue. Does Gloucester Township have signs that state, please don't drive like your kids? Please drive like your kids live here. No, the municipality does not have it. There's a specific program in Washington Township. However, those signs are sold privately online. The only signage that's recommended for traffic control purposes for municipality are those that are approved by the New Jersey Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices.
Okay.
They're big signs all over Washington Township. I've seen them everywhere. I also think, like, I see those signs and I'm like, just drive like your kids live here. Maybe you don't like your kids.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and you're just flying. Like, you're like, ah! So, he sent in a few more questions, too, about speeding in different areas. And council had passed on those concerns, the different areas that he found speeding, to the GTPD.
Yeah.
And I guess they're going to continue to monitor those areas. They were all over in the Glendora section, so I'm still free to speed over here as I like. So we're
okay.
We're definitely good to go.
Yeah. So after Mr. Leader's Egov, there was another gentleman. His name was Fred Hall that had sent in questions about. Do we have a clip on this? Is this 12?
Yeah.
Should I play this one here or explain it? Just play it.
Yeah.
From Fred Hill, 25 Stephen Drive, Glendora, New Jersey. Is council aware that the Gloucester Township Ecological Center, known to council as our bulldozed 63-acre island that drains 100% of all its storm rainwater directly into Timber Creek via their masonry headwalls and culverts that lead directly to are built illegally extending into Timber Creek state property, has covered their entire 63-acre island. Again, to be clear, the Gloucester Township Ecological Center is located on what is essentially an island surrounded by Timber Creek, with the biggest concentration of tons and tons of oil-soaked leaves and very toxic grass clippings in our state, that the Gloucester Township 2023 Winter Community Newsletter says was dumped there by the 24 towns and local commercial contractors to sit on our Gloucester Township Ecological Center island in piles being turned and mixed every 2 weeks so the rain can wash all the toxins from the huge piles of oil-soaked leaves and highly toxic grass clippings directly into Timber Creek in violation of the law. So on June 6th, the Gloucester Township Public Works Supervisor, Mr. Bucciaroni, conducted an inspection along with DEP, this approved compost facility with a Canham County hazmat representative. Their inspection was conducted due to the complaint to the DEP by Mr. Hill. No violations were found, and we're expecting a copy of the official report from the Canham County hazmat unit.
So, we audited ourselves, and we found that there was no wrongdoing.
Yeah, this is common practice.
There's a lot. There's kind of a lot to take in there too, because for one, I was like, "Where do we have an island?" But I guess it's kind of like a peninsula.
It's a peninsula, not an island. Like Florida. You know, Florida is attached. There's Georgia and everything is above it, but there's water surrounding it. That's kind of how this island that he's referring to is actually it's a peninsula. It's not a island.
So this is where all of our leaves get picked up. This is where they all wind up.
Not just ours, though. So this gentleman...
He said 24 towns.
This gentleman has a very good point. As crazy as it may sound in that email about oil-soaked leaves and all that stuff, we have all these other towns bringing their trucks, which they're basically trash trucks and heavier equipment trucks, onto our roads in our town, which we all know are extremely horrible in Camden County and in Gloucester Township specifically. We don't have great roads. We're bringing all their heavy trucks coming onto our property and dumping the leaves into our ecological center.
Mm-hmm.
And his claim of oil-soaked leaves might sound a little exaggerated, but if you think about what he's claiming, is that the leaves sit on the side of the road, right? The oil from cars drip onto the road. Rain then washes the oil onto the sides of the road. That then gets onto the leaves. Those leaves are then from all over towns are all put into one specific area. So while they might not be oil soaked all the time, there can be oil soaked leaves that happen there. All right, call it a stretch, whatever it is. They're all being condensed into one particular area. This piece of land, peninsula, that he was calling an island, is where they all get collected from 24 different towns around there. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he got that information from what the township themselves had put out in the winter newsletter from the mayor's office that was boasting about the ecological center. So he's taking their words and not using it against them, but saying, you said this, not me. You told us there's 24 towns that bring their leaves, here. And that's where he's getting the oil-soaked leaves from. So agree with it, disagree with it, or whatever. That's what his statement is based upon, right? I know myself, I've seen what he's referring to as far as that water from runoff getting dumped into Timber Creek. I don't know 100% for sure that is illegal, what he's claiming in this Egov that they're sending out. But I know that it does happen. So there's video footage that I have from the time that I went out, looking for eagles and found the eagle's nest out on the MUA property. What clip is it? 13? Yep. Okay, so when I play this clip here, this is the MUA's property, and most people don't even know that this exists. This is back. You have to look at it on Google Earth in order to see where this actually is. But where the MUA building, if you were to go to pay your MUA bill, where that is, it's off to the side of it, and it extends all the way down to almost to where what is that property over there? There's a liquor store at the bottom of the hill where you go back by Sam's Club in Deptford. I can't think of what the heck the name of it is, but there's like a 3-point there. There's like a 7-Eleven there. There's like a liquor store, and then another road goes up, and it used to be like a jeweler, and now it's like a crab shack or something. But either way, the MUA property goes all the way back, all the way down to that point over there, and that's where the eagle's nest is. But let's just take a look and see what this clip is here, where he's talking about the runoff water dumping into MUA.
So from what I understand, this field over here is like where they do the mulching and they bring all the different towns' waste to, but you're also not supposed to have anything dumping into Timber Creek, which we have a culvert here that was very intentionally put. There's rocks placed there that go right into Timber Creek, right next to where the eagle's nest is. Again, this is on the MUA's site here. So this is where it's dumping into here. And you can see this was intentionally built. Somebody built this. Goes straight through over to the other side over there. Let's see what those two signs say. Sample head wall. If you follow this down to where the eagle's nest is, which is all public land here, there's actually a sign stating public access this way.
So
Interesting.
you're trying to figure out where this is, right?
I have no idea where this is.
So if you were on, you know where Sharky's Bagels is? I'm trying to figure out how to describe this to you. So if you're at Sharky's Bagels and you went
Across from Choose Landing Fire Hall for
yeah, if you went up that one street that, do you know where the MUA is or no?
No.
Okay. If you went not to go up around
So I'm leaving the township building. I come up to the light where the Sharky's Bagels is on the right, Choose is across the street. I'm making a right there.
No, you just keep going straight.
If I go
and then
straight,
when you
I
go
to
up
the Black
straight
Horse Pike.
there, if you didn't bear off anyway, it would go up to the Black Horse Pike,
Yes.
and the American Legion would be on your left-hand side.
Yes.
If you split off there where the American Legion is, the American Legion would now be on your right, and you cross over that street there. So you cross over the Black Horse Pike, and as you get up to the
going towards Lakeview Apartments.
correct,
Yes.
So where Lakeview Apartments is, before that, there's a flashing like yellow light.
Yes.
If you were to turn right there, at the end of that street, that's where the MUA
I think that used to be
goes.
like U.S. Vision. I think it was.
Correct, U.S.
Yes.
Vision, right where U.S. Vision is. So the property, that 351 Landing Road, that's
it's all back
directly
there.
behind U.S. Vision.
Oh, okay.
That's where that property that we're selling for 1.6 million, or potentially selling for 1.6 million, and the MUA property is directly next to that. So you'd have to drive onto 351 in order to get to this ecological center property, but that's where the mulch is. So the mulch continues all the way down. Like, so if you're on 42 where the Lakeview Apartments are right there, you'd follow that all the way down to the very next exit where there's Deptford Mall is that exit. You get off and there's Wendy's is there, and I don't know what else is there. Uno or Pizza Uno or
Yeah,
whatever it
there's
was.
Mr. Liquor, Wendy's. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
so all
Okay.
that peninsula that he was describing as an island,
It's all behind there.
goes all the way down to there, and then that's where you go all the way. If you followed now that road all the way down over that creek, there's a little liquor store at the bottom there. I think it's called like Timber Creek Liquors or something, and that's where the 7-Eleven is and all that. But that property goes all the way down to there. That's all
like
the mulch.
What is that? Like 5 points right there. Yes, the old jewelry store that is now like a crab place.
4 point.
Yeah, Timber Creek Liquors.
Yeah, so that's where that peninsula is. So if you were to go on Google Earth, you can go and see all those mulch things that I have on that video.
Gotcha. Okay.
And his claim is that all that mulch is brought to one spot, and there are multiple of those culverts that are there where you can literally see the remnants of water getting collected there, and there being oily remnants, and then it's getting dumped into Timber Creek. And that's what his claim is. So, as crazy as it might sound in that email or Egov that he had, he's not 100% incorrect in that claim there.
I don't know how much oil.
I don't know either. I don't know.
Back in 70s, 80s, I would imagine there was a lot more, a lot more cars leaked oil back then. It's not a coming from someone who kind of still stays close to the industry. There's not a whole lot of oil leaking out of cars these days.
No, but to his point though, if you think about it, so in Gloucester Township there might not be there's not oil all over the side of the streets here. I can tell you I've firsthand witnessed people taking their car and driving 2 wheels up on the curb, getting underneath their car, dumping their oil literally right into the road? Right into the road, and then that's how they change their oil or whatever. It happens. And when you have 24 different towns, we don't know what towns these are. We don't know where these
happening?
What's that?
Where's this happening?
It happens. I'm
24 towns. So what's the benefit
places.
of Gloucester Township? Are we getting paid for this? To take other people's leaves, or is this just
I would
like
assume. He claimed it was he called it a business there. So I think that there's some financial aspect to it, whether other towns are paying us to dump it there, but there is some sort of.
If we're taking other towns for free,
Listen,
that's,
it all goes back
that's
to
something.
money.
That's something in itself to investigate because, yeah, I wouldn't take anybody else's stuff for free.
But maybe their free stuff turns into now we can sell this mulch, and it turns into money. That it's always about money, Joe. There's no
Premium oily mulch for sale.
Premium oily mulch. Either way, it 100% is always about the money. I don't know exactly how. I didn't check the economics of it, but it's about money.
Well, it's funny when I saw this guy's email come in. I was like, I know this is already going to lead to another Keith investigation. And then by the time you showed up here, you were like, oh, actually, I was there already.
I already have it. Yep. Done. Done and done. But, all right. Yeah, so I think that was pretty much it for the council meeting recap for June 10th.
Yeah, that's it.
Make sure you subscribe to our subscribe work here. All right.
Hey, it works.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Check
subscribe
us
to our
out.
podcast. We probably should have blasted this out before we put people to sleep. But
yeah,
subscribe, like us on Facebook, and Twitter somewhere, or X. X is somewhere. Find us on X too.
Twix.
Do all that stuff, and we'll see you. We'll see you for next council meeting recap in 2 weeks.
Yep. All right. See you, folks.
See you, folks.